And good evening, Ryan Belmore here, owner and publisher of What's Up Newp. It is 6 p.m. here on Tuesday, October 20th. We are just 2 weeks away from general election, and many people will be voting on November 3rd. Many people have already voted across the state as of 5:30 p.m. 60,926 voters have voted. In Newport, 990 have voted at City Hall. Another 514 have returned their mail ballots, and they have been scanned for a total of about 1,500 voters have already cast their votes. We are on the Newport School Committee today, and we're going through the candidates. Just a quick note, we've invited all Newport School Committee candidates. Actually, we've invited all candidates on Aquidneck Island to join us for a video discussion, and we are going one by one as quick as we can and as effectively in bringing you the candidates to you during this COVID era where you get to meet them. And today we stay on Newport School Committee. We're joined by James Dring. And good evening, James.
Hey, Ryan, how are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. And thanks for joining us. I know everybody is extremely busy, and we appreciate it. For those that don't know James Dring, why don't you give us a little background about yourself?
Sure. I was born in Newport, so I was a resident in Newport. I went to Sheffield School, went to Sullivan School, went to Thompson, graduated from Rogers, went to St. Anselm College up in New Hampshire, and actually got my MBA at Salve Regina. And, I've been active in Newport for most of my life, most of my adult life. I was on the planning board. I became the chairman of the planning board. I'm currently on the Myantonomi Park Commission, and I was also voted the chair, so I'm the chair of that commission as well. I'm on the St. Joseph's Parish Council, so I'm involved in a lot. I have for most of my adult life. And I have kids in the system. I'm a dad. I have 3 daughters. They're 12, 10, and 15. And so that's kind of how I got steered towards the school committee. The kids come home, they tell me what's going on in the school system. And I have to say, for the most part, we've had a very good experience in the Newport schools.
So it's not as bad as some naysayers may make it out to be.
It is, Ryan. It's the perception. And I can say that for most of the people that I graduated with from high school, and you could probably say the same thing, they moved to Middletown or Portsmouth, and they always say, I'm going there for the school systems. One of the reasons that I'm running for the Newport School Committee is that I want people and families to say, I want to live in Newport because I want to send my kids to the Newport school system, because I want this school system to be the best that it can be. And I think it can be. I think we're on the right track. Like I said, I have 3 kids, and we've all had good experience.
What your campaign tagline, what you're showing on ads, why don't you give a little background on that?
Well, I have to admit that Libby Curran, I work with Libby Curran. Libby's really good at branding and advertising. And she, we came up with that slogan together. You drive around Newport and you see, signs that say, drive like your kids live here. And we thought, wow, this is great. So what I'm asking people to do on November 3rd is vote like your kids live here, and hopefully vote for me.
What do you, you have a very vested interest having children in the school system right now, but I'm sure you're talking to other parents, you're talking to voters. What do you see as the biggest opportunities? I've been trying to say opportunities instead of issues. I'm trying to spin it into a positive light here. What are the biggest opportunities you see in the school system?
Well, the one thing that everyone wants to talk about, and I'm sure everybody who you've had on, I've watched a lot of them, that's all everybody talks about, is Rogers High School. It needs to be replaced. It's old. And, a little background is that my grandfather was on the commission that built the school back in the 1950s. And I remember him talking to me about it. He said that what they wanted to do was have an open campus with a lot of outside space, more like a college campus, because back then, the high school was on Broadway where Thompson is now. And there was just a brick and mortar. There's no outside space. So that was their focus. And I think in the 1950s and thereafter, it worked for a while. But obviously now it needs to be replaced. It's a 60-year-old school. It's outdated. And the sad part is, too, and I came across this a lot when I was on the planning board, Newport does not take care of their infrastructure. I remember being on the planning board, and they had to replace the dam around the big pond down by the beach. And they were doing a presentation to us, and I asked, why is this falling apart? This is our water supply. What could be more important than that? And they just basically said it was never maintained. And I know a lot of the problems with Middletown, and I've heard this, is that they've actually said, the Middletown town officials, well, you don't maintain your buildings, meaning Newport. Newport doesn't maintain their infrastructure, and they're right. So we need to change that. So one of the things, if I'm on the school committee, I want to make sure is that we do maintain facilities. We have two relatively new facilities now, and if we have another third new facility, we've got to obviously make sure that we take care of it, and we don't run into the same problem down the road for the next generation.
So it sounds like you support it, but I'm not going to put any words in your mouth. Tell me where you land with the question 2, school bond question, as well as all the regionalization talks, all the unification talks.
Yes, I do support the bond issue. This is the time to do it. We're going to get a 52% reimbursement, and we're also, the mortgage rates, interest rates right now are lower than they've ever been. So you're never going to get a better time to do it. So we need to vote for it. We need to pass it. But the one thing about the school committee that I don't hear a lot of people talking about is when we're all sworn in, we're going to know whether it passed or it failed. So if it passes, we're going to have to make sure as a board that the school's built correctly, built to specs, and most importantly, it's not over budget. I was on the building committee, and I know the first few meetings we went to, they were talking about $180 million bond issue. Now it's down to 110 around in that vicinity. I don't know where all the $70 million went, but most likely it's probably going to go over budget. They always do, and we need to make sure that it's not. And the flip side is, if it doesn't pass, then we really need to focus on regionalization. And another thing I don't hear a lot of people talking about is there's 18 people running for Middletown Town Council. There's obviously the incumbents are running, and they shut down all the talks, but there's 18 people running. And most of those people, they want to open discussions with us, and they want to talk to us about it. I've talked to some of them myself. So we have an opportunity, hopefully, if we get some new blood on that Middletown Town Council, that we could actually come to some kind of an agreement, hopefully. And I know most people that are running school committee, are saying the same thing. It makes sense to do that. It does not make sense because they're going to have to build a new school too, and they're going to spend another 120 or 130 million by then. It makes no sense when their schools are 3 or 4 miles apart. So I'm optimistic that we could do something. And even if we do get the bond passed, maybe there's still some collaboration that we can do. We're already doing some. Maybe we can do more. So I think that makes sense.
What other opportunities do you see with the school committee to improve education in Newport?
Well, I think the first thing we need to do is maybe not the first thing. Obviously, the first thing is a bond issue, but we need to raise the test scores. And I haven't heard anybody mention this, and I've mentioned it briefly, and I've talked to a lot of people. I right up the road in Massachusetts, they have some of the best school systems in the entire country, as well as some of the best test scores. I would love to find some cities in Massachusetts that have similar demographics to us and go to them basically and figure out what do they do that works? Why are they not that far from us and they're so successful at it? Why are they doing well? What are they doing? Is this something we can emulate? Is this something we can work with the teachers union to get their input? Is this something we can do here for our kids? And I think it's possible. And if I'm elected, that's what I plan on doing.
How are you? I haven't been able to ask this because there haven't been too many current parents who are running for school committee. How are you feeling about COVID and back to school?
Well, first I want to say that, Ryan, not only is no active candidate running for school committee that has kids, but there's nobody running for city council that has kids either. And as far as COVID, we need to get the kids back to school. My kids they're going nuts. They want to be back in school. They want to see their friends. Right now, they go 2 days a week. They go Tuesday, Wednesday. And my Rogers High School is out at 12:15. Thompson's out at 1:15. They want to get back to school. I mean, we need to figure this out, because what's happening is a lot of kids, and I've heard this from a lot of teachers, these kids just disappear. I mean, you have to log on and get involved. They can't find these students. And if their parents aren't getting them up and sitting them in front of a computer, they're not doing anything. So there's a lot of kids that are going to come out of this COVID really far behind. And that's obviously not a good thing. And that's going to put a lot of stress on the school system. So I think we need to get the kids back in school as quickly as possible and as safely as possible. And obviously everybody in America is saying the same thing. We need this COVID virus to go away as quickly as possible. Because I think one of the things that's really hurting is school.
Yeah. What have you been hearing from other parents and other voters out there since you officially announced your campaign in June?
I've been getting a lot of momentum. I've had a lot of people reach out to me that I don't even know. Say, hey, can you put a sign in front of my house? And then I say, well, where do you live? We live in the dead end street. I say, well, that's not going to really help me. But no, I've had a lot of parents I don't know call me, and I've got signs up all over the city, and they're asking me, my input. And I've had a lot of people call me up and who I struck a pretty good friendship with, and they're like, hey, who else should we vote for? We're voting now. So I feel like I'm getting a lot of momentum. And I know my daughter came home from school today and she goes, Dad, I talked to 3 of my friends and they told me that all their parents are going to vote for you. So that's what I'm hoping. If I can get the parent vote, I can get myself on the school committee. And then, the parents will have a voice.
And voters will see 10 names when they go to vote for school committee. Why should they fill in the dot next to your name?
Well, I think throughout my adult life, like I said before, I mentioned, I've been on a lot of boards and commissions. I know how the system works. I know how the city works. The last 2 boards I've been on, the planning board, I was elected the chairman. And the same thing with my Antinomy Park Commission. I'm the chairman of that commission as well. And the reason I get elected is because the people on the board, we get along. It's not like we have a monolithic board where we all think the same way. We all have our different opinions. We debate issues, but it's always civil. And at the end of the day, it's not personal. So I think that's important. I mean, I'd go into school committee meetings years ago, and I thought people were going to come to blows. I mean, it was that bad. And when you have a situation like that, you're not going to get a lot accomplished. So I think if I can get on the board, I have leadership skills. I have skills. I get along with people, and I think that's what I bring to the table as well as my experience. And I also think that as a parent, the parents need to be represented, and I will be a parent, and I will be on the school committee voicing their concerns. Because if my kids come home from school, I know what's going on in the school system. There's a lot of people on the school committee, I don't think they really have a clear understanding of what goes on inside the schools because they're not in the schools. They don't have kids in the schools. So I have that perspective that no one else will have.
What other topics, issues, concerns, or points, would you like to bring up? Anything else on your mind or anything else that you would like voters to know about you?
Well, there was a question that Newport this week asked. They said, hey, if there's extra money in the school budget, which, how often does that happen?
Yeah.
But if there's extra money in the school budget, where would you spend it? And I think I was the only one that said on maintenance. Our Rogers High School is falling apart because we haven't maintained it. We have to put money into our schools. We need to invest money in Thompson. Thompson's probably, I'm guessing, 15 to 18 years old now. We have to maintain it. The same thing with Pell. We definitely need to maintain those schools, and we should focus on that. The other issue is obviously the English language learners. There's so many kids that come here that don't speak English, and that puts a tremendous stress on the school system. And I think we need to get more help from the state. And I know that there's funds available. We need to make sure that we can get them because it does take a lot if you have a kid that doesn't speak English. And they deserve the same education that every other kid deserves. We need to be there for them, and we need to make sure we give them the best that we can.
Regarding maintenance, and I know you do not serve on any current board that has to deal with this maintenance. Do you think we have the right things in place now to make sure we don't have another Rogers happen in the city? Or what can we put in place to make sure it doesn't happen?
We need to put in a reserve budget. We need to put money aside every year to make sure that we maintain our schools. And my understanding is they do that, and then the money, I might be wrong, but I was told that the money ended up spent on other situations. Because there's every year there seems to be a budget shortfall. I remember going to meetings a couple of years ago, and every single meeting, one of the members on the school committee said, how are we doing with the budget? Are we on track with the budget? And all year, his answer was, he was told yes. And then in June, he asked the same question, and they said, well, we're $1 million in the hole. I was like, what? How did that happen? So, that's the other thing. You need to stay on top of the budget because maintenance is all about the budget. It's all about money. You have to have the money to maintain the schools, and you can't just keep kicking the can down the road.
Yeah, if you didn't take care of your house or I didn't take care of my house for 30 years,
Exactly.
it'd be the same thing. So, I just thought it was an interesting question. How can people get a hold of you if they want to talk about anything they heard, ask you a question, find out more?
Certainly can give me a call or shoot me a text. It's my number's 401-662-1149, or shoot me an email. It's JADring_2000@yahoo.com.
Awesome. Anything else we missed today?
I think we covered everything. I
know,
appreciate you having me on. You're doing a great service for the city.
I'm trying to, have you been going door to door?
I have not. I honestly don't feel comfortable doing it.
Yeah, a lot of people don't.
I know candidates that are just leaving stuff, and people are calling up and going, how dare you walk on my steps?
Yeah.
So, I'm kind of doing it word of mouth. I got my signs out. I'm doing advertising. And like I said, a lot of word of mouth. I'm making calls, asking people, hey, can you talk to your friend? I'm telling my kids, talk to your friends, make sure their parents vote for me. So that's more or less what I'm doing.
All right. Well, yeah, it's a tough one because some candidates want to go door to door. Others are getting some heat for leaving mailers, but it is such an interesting year. So we're doing this, trying to bring the candidates to people so they can find out a little bit more. So hopefully it works. But we wish you the very best of luck in the coming days, weeks, and of course on November 3rd.
Great. I appreciate it, Ryan. Thank you very much.
All right, James. Thanks very much. And we will see you soon. We want to thank James Dring for joining us today. If you missed any portion of this interview, you can find it on whatsupnewp.com. You can also share it with your friends, family, neighbors, Newport voters. All the other candidate videos that are there as well. Thanks, James, for joining us. We will be joined tomorrow as well as Thursday by other candidates for Newport School Committee, Portsmouth Town Council, as well as Middletown Town Council. Thanks for watching.